about what's going on in Honduras. I have a lot of friends in Honduras, and I have this peculiar worry that we find ourselves on the wrong side of freedom in the situation that's happening in Honduras. You know, as you read the press clips, what we heard was that there was a coup. That, in fact, is not true. The Supreme Court of Honduras, under the direction of the Congress, asked the military to intercede because the president of Honduras had violated their own laws. Yet we have our State Department and our foreign policy siding with Hugo Chavez, Raul Castro, and the former president. There's no questions that improvements have been made in the past in Central and South America. But tonight we find ourselves supporting an anti-constitutional president of Honduras, when in fact the Congress of Honduras and the Supreme Court of Honduras have said that he is violating their laws. So rather than look at the whole picture, we have decided that we will intervene in our diplomacy on the side of a Chavez-type would-be dictator. Because in what was happening in Honduras was an effort to change so that you could have a president for life in Honduras. That was what was going on. That's why the Congress, that's why the Supreme Court of Honduras acted. We now are siding against the people of Honduras. What is little known is 800 to 1,000 Venezuelan thugs were admitted into Honduras in the week prior to this with Honduran passports to create chaos for Zelaya. Systematic attempts to create upheaval and discord and rioting by Chavez's thugs. So now we find ourselves, the free United States, siding with somebody who wants to make sure the Honduran people are not free, to create another petro-czar dictator in South and Central America. It's tremendously important that we get this right. And I think we're heading in the wrong direction right now. I think we're heading in a direction that we're going to make sure Honduras falls into the fold of Hugo Chavez. The last thing any of us should really want. He has become the dictator in charge of Venezuela. He has nationalized American assets. He has corrupted the free democratic process. And he seeks to do that in all the other areas where he can maintain influence. And in fact, he was doing it. The other thing that is important that is not well published is that the president of Honduras was totally associated with drug cartels, cash, the distribution and transmission of drugs into this country. And the monies associated with that were used by people to support his pursuit of permanent power. So now we find ourselves, we're out there on a limb with our foreign policy without looking at the whole story. And my main concern with this is what about all those people who really do want freedom in Honduras, who really do believe that we model in this country what they aspire to, and now the country that they aspire to is siding against the vast majority of people in Honduras. No illegal acts took place under the orders of the Supreme Court by the military. No illegal acts. And yet we didn't look at it close enough, and we've made now foreign policy decisions that my fear is are going to be irreversible. There is no question things could be done better in Honduras. But there's also no question things could be done better here. But for us to decide to side with the factors that are going to force Honduras into a situation similar to Cuba and Venezuela makes my blood boil. Because not only are we going to eliminate and limit the freedom of those great people, we're going to help perpetuate the loss of freedom in that hemisphere. So I call out to the President and the Secretary of State to do a reassessment. Let's relook at the facts. Let's talk to the people on the ground. Let's make sure we have the facts and the knowledge about what the vast majority of people in Honduras want. You can stimulate chaos if you pay enough money and bring enough people in to do that, which was the intent of President Zelaya. My hope would be that we will slow down, that we will use caution at every turn as we interface with the situation down there. The Honduran people have the right to have their constitution followed. That's what they did when they executed the imposition of removal of the president of Honduras. They followed their own law, their own constitution. They don't have the right of impeachment, but they do have the right of carrying out the orders of the Supreme Court, which was given. And for us to take this position, and this strong of a position, on what I feel has been a diplomatic lack of information of what is truth in Honduras, speaks poorly for us as a nation, and most importantly undermines the hopes of the people from Honduras. And with that, I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.